guys, it's Casey, and today we're going to talk about my December TBR. So it is already the last month of 2020 and there's so much left that I want to read. But first let's go ahead and check back in with my November TBR. So in November I gave myself my 4 standard challenges, and while I'm not quite done with them yet, it looks like I will be on track to finish all of those books. I also said I wanted to try to read all of the finalist nominees for the fantasy category of the Goodreads Choice Awards. And I'm almost done with that too. Actually, the winner is announced on December 8th and I will definitely have all of them read by then. I've only got a couple more to go actually. So overall November went really well, and I think I'm gonna have even more time to read in December, and I'm just really excited because, oh boy, I put a lot on this TBR. So like I said, I give myself 4 challenges every month, and the first one of which is a new release. So a release that came out in the last 12 months. And while I read a ton of new releases last month, one of the ones I was really looking forward to tragically did not make it on the finalist list, and that is of course The Burning God by R.F. Kuang. So this is what I will be reading first thing in December, right after I'm done with that video. So The Burning God is the conclusion to the Poppy War trilogy by R.F. Kuang, which is a grimdark fantasy series that is based on Chinese history. It follows our extremely morally gray main character Rin as she goes to a military academy and then eventually off to war. And this series really dives into the gritty, dark realities of war itself, and it's wonderfully written and it's disturbing at times, and it does what it wants to do so well, and I know that this conclusion is going to absolutely wreck me, so I am excited to read it early in December. So one of my other challenges is to read a poetry collection, short story collection, or classic, and for that I'm going to be reading Date and Time by Phil K. So this is a poetry collection that I actually just got really recently, and I'm not super familiar with poetry in general, but I've been trying to get more into it, and Phil K is one that I saw on YouTube doing like live performances of his poems, and I really enjoyed them, and I've had my eye on this collection for a while, and recently I was just in a poetry mood, so I decided to kind of pull the trigger and buy it. So this is one that I'm looking forward to because it's been on my wish list for over a year now, and I really enjoy his like spoken word performances, so I'm excited to see it in written form and own it and get to tab it all out, and oh, I'm excited. So the next challenge is a book that's been on my shelves for over a year. So I've started to run out of books that have been on my shelf for over a year that I hadn't already unhauled. So there's a ton of books that I got around Christmas time last year that I'm just gonna count as like I got them in December, so that they're officially been there for 12 months now. So one of those books is something that it's actually kind of surprising I haven't read, and I feel like I just need to have read this book, right? And that is Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell. So this is a book that is super wildly popular, and I feel like I'm one of the only people that hasn't actually read it. So we're gonna fix that. But in case you don't know what this book is about, it is a young adult contemporary about a girl named Kath who goes off to college with her twin sister and is kind of alone for the first time. And Kath is kind of, I believe, like just a socially awkward kind of quirky girl who writes fan fiction for what is the equivalent of basically Harry Potter. And through this she starts to interact with this guy, and it starts to form like this romance, and that's kind of all I know about this actually, despite the fact that I've heard people talk about this forever. But this is one of those ones that I've just kind of had and I've just never really felt like picking up, so we're just gonna go ahead and fix that in December. So the last of the required books for my challenges is going to be a nonfiction book, and that's going to be Other Minds by Peter Godfrey Smith. So this is a book that I hauled relatively recently that is about the octopus, the sea, and the deep origins of consciousness. So this is all about like octopi and cephalopods and those kinds of animals and how their minds work, essentially. They talk about how intelligent these creatures are and how maybe that is some of the origins of like consciousness and sentient life, and how that may have spread out into other like trees. And I love psychology, I love science, and this just seems really interesting, and it's gorgeous, and it's just one that I really want to read, so I'm looking forward to reading this in December. So outside of those 4 required reads, there's a bunch of stuff that I really want to get to in the month of December. The first of which is Ghost Story by Jim Butcher. So I have been reading the Dresden Files for a while now, and I actually listened to Changes last month. Okay. Broadly speaking, the Dresden Files follows Wizard for Hire Harry Dresden as he works as a private investigator and consultant for the Chicago Police Department, and he tries to solve like all manner of crimes that are perpetrated by like supernatural entities, and he gets into all these kind of detective noir situations. However, it's expanded to be so much bigger than that, especially in Changes. So one of the tragic things about trying to read all of the 2020 releases last month is that I only got to listen to one Dresden Files book, and that book was Changes, and I don't know why I did that to myself, because Changes really expanded the world in a way that is so interesting and so unique, and I'm so pumped to see where we go from here. So I'm definitely gonna get to Ghost Story, which is the 13th one in the Dresden Files this month. I can't wait. Another book that's been on the back burner for a little while that I really want to go ahead and finish out is The Hero of Ages by Brandon Sanderson. So this is the final book to the Mistborn trilogy, which I've been reading the past couple of months, but I wasn't able to get to this one last month because of the challenge, and then the month before that I just kind of had a little bit of a reading slump, so I haven't been able to get to this, and it's been since I think September when I read The Well of Ascension. So the Mistborn series is set in a world where the premise is what if the Dark Lord won, and it is set in this world where magic comes from metals, so individuals can use different kinds of metals for specific abilities, but if you are someone who can use multiple metals or all of the metals, you are considered Mistborn. And this follows our main character Vin as she meets up with kind of this thieving roguelike group to kind of take down the final empire. And this is the exciting conclusion to the Mistborn trilogy, and I am so ready to finally read this book. It's gonna be wonderful. Another book that I want to get to this month is Kingdom of Copper by S.A. Chakraborty. So I read City of Brass last month, and I really enjoyed it. I thought the setting was so unique and well developed, and I really liked it, and I thought that the ending kind of expanded what the story was doing in a way that's really unique and interesting, so I'm looking forward to reading this one. So City of Brass follows our main character Nari, who is a Khan woman living in 14th century Cairo. However, everything changes for her when she accidentally summons a djinn, and she is whisked away to the City of Brass to kind of become involved in these court politics that she's never been aware of previously, and it was really good. So I want to go ahead and continue the story while it's kind of fresh in my mind, because there is a ton of intrigue and I just can't wait to kind of get into the maneuverings of it. So all of these books that I've mentioned so far are pretty chunky, and the next one coming up is no exception, so I don't want to add too terribly many books to this list just to not read them, but I really do think I'm going to have a lot of time in December to really dig into some of this. So I'm going to go ahead and add this one on, and that is Ship of Magic by Robin Hobb. So the Ship of Magic is the first book in the Live Ship Traders trilogy, which is the second trilogy in the Realm of the Elderling series. Got it. So I don't know a huge amount about the plot of this book, and I'm not going to read the back of this because the back of these editions gives information that's like way too far into the book for my liking. But I know broadly speaking it follows these ships that kind of come to life, so it's like if 3 generations of your family live or die or something like that on the ship, it becomes alive and becomes this magical kind of being, and this follows the crew of one of those ships, I think. All I know is that I really loved Robin Hobb's writing and her stories, and I loved the Farseer trilogy, so I definitely want to continue getting through the Realm of the Elderling series, mostly because I really want to get to read about Fitz more in the next series. However, a bunch of people say that this is actually their favorite, so I'm really looking forward to getting through this, and I'm excited to see how I feel about it. So those are the books that are like unique to my December TBR that I want to read. There are a couple that are on my Goodreads Choice Awards kind of TBR that I'm not totally done with and I might end up reading in the beginning of December. The only ones I have left are The Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson and The Once and Future Witches by Alex E. Harrow. I'm definitely gonna get one of those read before December starts, but I'm not really sure what order they're gonna go in because it's kind of up to the library to some extent on some of that. So those are, one or both of those is kind of on this TBR, but it's a little bit separate. So this is all of the books that I want to get to in December, plus the ones I'm finishing up for those videos, so oh boy. But I think that's all I've got for you guys today. If you want to keep up with what I'm reading, I'll have a link to my Goodreads in the description below, but other than that, I'll see you guys next time.